Hey guys, and welcome to another video, and today I will be drawing an iconic character called Usagi Yojimbo. He's actually one of the well-known comic book characters inspired by feudal Japan and inspired by a historic character, Musashi. So he's actually an anthropomorphic character representing a samurai warrior, but he's a bunny. So Usagi Yojimbo is actually really famous and well-known character, but if you don't know about him, it's quite alright, because that's a bit an older title, and if you're a manga fan or a comic book fan, maybe younger people still need to know how awesome this comic book is. And this is a drawing I have made for one of my patrons on Patreon page, and you can check it out and see if you would like to support my work by becoming a patron. I was actually thinking about opening new spots, because every spot for me drawing on a monthly basis and sending the drawings to the patrons directly has been filled. So I'm thinking about adding a chance for every patron to get an equal opportunity for me to draw out and make a video of their favorite characters, and make it into a raffle on a monthly basis. So check it out, it's in the description, and give me your suggestions about which kinds of prizes you would like me to do. I'm also preparing a very special new product giveaway, and that will be the topic of my next video. But let's return to Usagi. Usagi is actually really a simple character to draw, because his anatomy is quite simple. He's actually a really short character, and his face is quite simple, with two huge eyes and an egg-shaped head and two ears, making a ponytail shape, so he doesn't have any human features or ears or hair. So he is a quite simple character to draw, and by the looks of him, I already was glad that his author was familiar with the Japanese traditional clothing, because he actually didn't do the beginner's mistake we talked about in my previous videos, and that's to flip the way the clothing is inside out. Because when if you ever go to Japan and try to wear a kimono or yukata, or even if you train martial arts and wear this type of clothing he does, you should never wear it with a right flap over the left flap. It's always left over right, or if you make a mistake, then it means you're dead. So don't make the mistake, because this way of clothing, where the right flap is over the left one, is reserved only for deceased people. As for the type of clothing he's wearing, it's actually something really standard for Japanese samurai, made out of woven threads, and there's gi. That's the upper part of his clothing, and hakama. It's like samurai pants. So I wanted to preserve the traditional feeling and add as many details, but still make it look really simple, so that the original style of the drawing is matching the author's own style. I got the liberty from my patron to actually add some small sub-styles of my own for this drawing, and I decided to do that on the shading and coloring part. Even though the theme of this comic is manga and Japan, actually the original author kept using quite the Western type of lines and shading, so I wanted to implement huge black surfaces, which are really well known in manga, and just do some tiny tweaks for this character. I always respect the original authors and their work, but since I got my full approval to change some things with the shading and coloring, I did that. But don't worry, it doesn't affect the look of the character or the final outlook, so enjoying this. And I don't know if you have noticed, but I had to put these black areas quite a lot, and my regular CD marker decided to die on me, so I used the black Copic. But why I do not like the black Copic that much for this type of drawing is that it blends, and of course it should, but when I want a pure black surface to color over and not blend, I like using black CD markers more, because you can't blend them with water or other markers. They just stick there, and that's the pure black surface, and that's exactly what you need for the crisp manga look. But unfortunately, this character doesn't have so many details or blending areas, so I just use the black Copic for black areas and continue on by adding mostly 2 shades of each color. This character really doesn't have that much color in him. He only has these white areas for his fur, some gray areas for his katana, and a blue upper part of his clothing, and that's pretty much it. And I added some additional colors for the background later on, because I didn't want it to look too much devoid of color. As for big surfaces, when you fill them out with Copics, I recommend using small circular motion to prevent you from making the too much of a texture you don't like, and yet filling out the entire surface with color. And try working fast, and try making it into several layers so that you can blend in as much of the surface as possible, but you can never do a perfect job, and this is something I speak about from experience. You will always get either something that looks like a wet stain area, or I don't know, different textures like circles or lines. So it's only up to you how you decide to fill in entire surfaces. And what I did here for shading later on for his upper part is actually not getting dark blue Copic. I just used N6 neutral dark gray Copic and just blended it together, and it was great for making the darker shades of his blue upper part of his clothing. As for the background, I have spent quite a lot of time drawing out the texture of scales of an Asian dragon behind the character, because he's represented a lot in the official artwork with Chinese, well, Asian dragon behind him or helping him. And I really wanted to transfer the power of the dragon behind him, so I just used a lot of little scales and just repetitive motion and just drew out this texture behind him so that the drawing can look more dynamic and fun. Just fun to watch because of the details, because the character itself is really not that detailed. He's really simple, which is okay, because when you draw comic books, you don't want your characters to be too decorated. Otherwise, you will spend entire days drawing one manga panel or comic book panel, which I tend to do. But yeah, that's my own curse. So if you're willing and if you like your detailing too much, you're doomed, but still it's enjoyable. I used the gold Copic to draw out some details like the hilt of his katana. And one important thing everybody makes a mistake on regarding katanas is that, and I admit it, I did this mistake as well when I was a beginner. You should always draw katana's hilt big enough, well, long enough for 2 hands, so that it can be held by 2 hands. This is really important because katana is a 2-handed sword. There are other similar blades which are used by the samurai, but they're not as long, and one of them is actually one-handed, but that is not the katana. Katana itself is a 2-handed sword, so remember to always make the hilt longer. I just hope I pronounced it correctly because my English is not that good. Anyways, you should always fill in as much as the surface as possible for having additional details. If you have a simple character like this one, the background gives all the difference in the drawing, especially when you start using white lines like I am using a jelly pen. And the jelly pen actually helps me to make the things that need to pop up. For example, I got a special request by my patron to make something around him fly on the wind, like sakura petals or grains of dust, so I decided to make it sakura petals because sakura is one of the prettiest, well, the most beautiful details and symbols of Japan, so definitely something that would go with this samurai character. And of course, without him fully being colored and all of the surfaces being colored, you can't have all the best results. So always make sure to fill in the areas you want to cover with white jelly pen later. And he's done. If you wish to have a drawing of your own made by me, you can always become my patron, and the Patreon link is in the description. If you'd like to support my work, you can always get your own copy of my own Manga Crash course book. It has detailed explanations about drawing in manga style. And just a few weeks ago, this book actually got its own French version for the French bookstores. So if you live in France, check out this book. It's called Apprendre à dessiner des manga, differently from Manga Crash course. Both of them are available online and you can get them in the links in the description. See you guys next time!